@competitive for the month of September. And we chose the most tweeted article, this one being from Ars Technica, which covers technology and science. So an interesting platform. And this one covers the H index and how it can predict a scientist's career over time. Amy, do you want to give us a little introduction to the H?
Sure. So this article is written by Kate Shaw, and she's talking about the different ways that institutions can predict whether a scientist that they're considering on giving tenure will deliver over the course of that tenure. So they take the body of work they've completed up until now and try and use that as a platform for predicting what their future success will be. In the past, this has most commonly been done by seeing, how many articles they've published and then seeing how many times that article is then cited by other scientists, which would suggest tacitly that it's being endorsed by other scientists, so it's a significant piece of work. However, they've now also taken a look at a few other measures.
And let me just, when we say endorse, I think it's that work, as judged by peer review, was important enough to contribute to science, and now other people are citing it because they're building off of that original piece of work. That kind of endorsement.
That's what I mean. Yeah, sure. And now they've just taken a few other measures that could perhaps work in its place, that could become a metric in this context. They've taken a look at the total number of publications, they've taken a look at the number of years the scientist has been publishing, the total number of distinct journals that they've published in, i.e. that they're not just going back to the same journal all the time, the number of prestigious journals as well. And they've taken a look at all of those to see which are the biggest predictors of a scientist's long-term success. And what's come out of it is that the two biggest predictors are the number of prestigious journals that they're published in. Probably wouldn't surprise a lot of people to hear that. And then the total number of distinct journals that they're published in. So what do we think about this, Ken? Both in terms of those as measures, are they accurate? And do we feel like that any measure that is an effective proxy is going to be befitting the scientist, or are they going to be crude?
Well, I think you look at any sort of measurement. Let's take the NFL. Do you judge a quarterback solely on their passer rating? So when you think of the great quarterbacks of all time, Joe Montana, people can't just say, what's Joe Montana's quarterback passer rating, right? They say he's a 4-time Super Bowl champion. That's how you measure quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. However, the passer rating is important when you judge over the course of the year. You're able to judge between quarterbacks and the quarterback's own performance, being able to mark that through time. So what I'm saying is that there's context that you need to take into account here when you're looking at any sort of metric. What was interesting is the amount of backlash that this article received from scientists themselves. Mm-hmm. I kind of grouped these into 3 different camps for us. Yep. One is the hypersensitive group. Says one, I think these stupid prestige metrics are deleterious for science as a whole. The other one is that this doesn't apply to me camp. Einstein would have had a crappy H index. And by the way, Einstein's H index is 97. And then finally, there's the this doesn't define who I am group. Says one father and husband, by evolutionary standards, my 4 children make me much more influencing to the future of humanity than most of my PhD candidates. So while saying the H index doesn't apply to him, he also puts down the rest of his fellow scientists at the same time with that remark. Yeah. So my question here is, why the sensitivity to the H index?
Sure. Well, I think there's a couple of interesting things going on here. It's a little ironic that scientists would object to a scientific methodology for predicting what it is, their own success rate. That's what science is. It's taking data, and trying to project from it. So that's a little bit curious in its own right. But I also understand that there are a couple of other forces at play here. One is there's the romance of the late bloomer. most of us get to the age of 36 as I am, and we realise I haven't become a millionaire.
It's the second time we've heard your age in 4 conversations.
Really? Are you counting that?
Yes.
I'm trying to hint at when my birthday's coming.
Okay.
But yeah, you get to the age of 36 and you realise I haven't become a millionaire yet, or I haven't become a famous scientist yet, and you like to think that there's still an avenue for you to become that. So I think people kind of like to maintain the romance of the late bloomer, and of course there are many late bloomers, including Sir Isaac Newton, who published till he was 40. But then there's also social context around things like, is the field of research that you're involved in the flavour of the month, and does that therefore give you a platform to publish widely? Or are you perhaps involved in perhaps very significant and important research, but that isn't going to get you the fame and acclaim that would perhaps push your case?
I would think that people like Newton and Einstein, as mentioned, to be honest, I don't think they would care about their own age index. I think if you look at the bottom, you think of an iceberg, you think of these giants that we talk about, they don't care. They're contributing, and I think actually Newton, somewhere before he was 25, invented calculus. So regardless of when he published, he contributed to the field. I think it's the rest of us, though, the 85%. And I think it's hard to put our entire life, all of our work, the scientists like the rest of us that work hard, into a single number, and to be able to boil that down. Because that can be harsh. I think at the end of the day, if we look at this recent article in the Wall Street Journal, and I think we can end it here, is Bernanke actually wrote about how Washington, D.C. can learn from baseball. And Davy Johnson combines both statistics, in this case sabermetrics as it's called in baseball, and common sense. So he uses statistics like on-base percentage to decide which players to pick and which players to play, but he also realizes in terms of common sense that some players have longer-term potential. You need to sacrifice the short-term and invest in the longer term and pick some of these promising players and invest in them, make them confident. And he told this one shortstop, you are going to be our shortstop. He wasn't doing so well, but now he's an all-star and he has the best on-base percentage in all of baseball. So being able to balance the science or statistics or in baseball sabermetrics with the other side of common sense and being intuitive and just being human, I think is what scientists and the rest of us can learn from this story.
And I always knew that there would be a lesson for science in sport.
You want to plug your rugby site yet? No? Okay. Next time.
So yeah, no, I agree. It's a proxy. That's what it is. I think a lot of people will always appreciate that no metric is ever going to be perfect, and they will use it in context to the degree to which their institution is prepared to use it. But I don't think that necessarily excludes those of us who might have potential, as you say, further down the line.
Thank you, Eamon. Thanks for joining us for this conversation, and we will talk to you next time. Email us at twitter@competitive.com or tweet us @competitive. See you next time.
Thanks a lot, guys.